And here is where my Uzbekistan network actually helped me, because one or two lawyers from Uzbekistan, whom I was in touch with, actually got this scholarship. And they took my mock interview a day before I interviewed for the scholarship. So, this is how your network can help you always.
Hello and welcome to our Super Lawyer YouTube channel. Today we have here young lawyer, achiever, I would say super achiever. She is Simran Gupta and currently she is at LSE doing her LLM. We would like to start the interview by knowing about her personal life a little bit. How was her school? What kind of upbringing she has gone through? And how was it that she went on to pursue the path that she is on? Welcome, Simran. Floor is all yours. Please
Thank
tell
you
us
so
about
much,
your journey.
Divya. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very humbled to be here today. So, I think to begin with, I would say that I was always a simple Delhi girl, with big dreams. So, my schooling happened in Holy Child Auxilium School, which was an all girls convent school. So, there was a lot of discipline there. And I was very bright from the beginning. I was very active as a child, very confident, very out there. So I remember participating in, a lot of dance competitions, debate competitions, speaking so much on stage. And I was holding a lot of leadership positions also. I mean, I didn't know it that much, but I was enjoying it. So I used to be the monitor of my class from a very young age. Then I was a house captain. Then I moved on to be in the school cabinet. And I remember receiving awards actually every year for my academics. There were recognition day in my school and participating in the annual day. So I did all sorts of things. And I had a lot of support from my teachers and my principal, to be honest. They were very encouraging. And most of my friends today are actually from my school life, and I'm still in touch with them. So, a major part of my personality today was shaped actually during my school life, and most of my values are inculcated at that time. But a major credit goes to my mom for this, because she sort of had this routine for us. So, me and my elder sister, I remember when we used to come back from school, she had these tests prepared for us from a very young age, which we had to do. And we kept on doing them till the time we got all our answers correct. So, I learned the habit of working hard at that point of time. But we had time for everything. So she planned our schedule ahead. I had my dance classes. We had enough time to watch television, play out with our friends, spend time with our family. So now, reflecting back, I think it has helped to maintain my schedule and sort of also helped me with planning my days ahead of time. So I think I was very lucky to have all the help back then. And moving to 11th and 12th, which was the toughest, I think, because of the board exams in India, I developed this habit of working hard and sitting and practicing my questions, because accountancy and maths, as you know, required a lot of practice back then. And I'm sure it still does today. So, yes, I sort of build my discipline during my school life and have developed it throughout. And that is what led me to actually pursue a commerce degree from Delhi University eventually.
Wow, so you practically had a super mom as well. Amazing.
Definitely.
She built super lawyer by being a super mom, I would say. So moving ahead and taking your life fast forward to the law school, what made you decide to become a lawyer? And what kind of challenges did you actually face in the very start? Because usually as first generation lawyer, we see a lot of challenges which come our way and the kind of support you already have partially answered that you had a super mom. So how did that support came from family? Please tell us about that as well.
I think for me, becoming a lawyer was not like, I decided it in a snap of a moment or something. I remember there were moments during my school and at my university, whether should I pursue a law degree or whether I should go for CA or should I start with a job, which I had to tell you that I got placed with KPMG actually during my time at Delhi University. And it was one of the companies which came for the first time in my college. There were several rounds of interview which I sat through and I got the job, luckily. But eventually, I decided not to go ahead with it and pursue a law degree. Because I was sure that I don't want to do anything related to CA or MBA or anything. So I decided to do a law degree. And my parents surprisingly wanted me to pursue law since a very young age. And I have no idea why. So I was aware of the fact that I have no contacts at all. I have no background in law, and it's going to be very hard. But I still didn't knew the reality of it till the time I actually came in the profession. So yes, I went ahead and pursued my law degree from Amity University in Noida. And it was a great time, but in between COVID hit us, unfortunately, and half of my degree was online, which was very unfortunate and sad at that time. But I remember being very restless towards the beginning of my third year, and for the entire third year, that I have to prove myself, I have to get a job. And I did do a few internships before, but I remember at a certain point I was doing about 2 or 3 online internships together. So the concept of online internships actually came during COVID. Before that, nobody knew what an online internship in law is. So I learned major part of using SCC and other legal research tools during that time actually. And I was very frightened, I would say, that what is going to come ahead of this degree. And I gave my final exams, and I actually created a LinkedIn account on the last day of my exams. So during that 2 week period, which was May and it was peak of COVID, I remember applying to all law firms because nobody was hiring and there were layoffs and it was a terrible time for all of us. But I saw there's a vacancy in Trust Legal and I just reached out to him and I connected him. Surprisingly, sir reached out to me and wrote to me that, why don't we get on Zoom and discuss what you want to do? So I jumped on that opportunity and I sent him a Zoom link quickly. And he interviewed me, he assessed me, and then I landed a job with him. So I was very proud of myself. And I think I was one of the first 5 students in my batch to get something. And before that, I didn't even knew what environmental law is. But at the end, I was very proud of myself that, I actually did something and I have something in my hand.
So you are a super achiever, and somehow you landed one of the best places to do the job with Sudhir Mishra sir, I assume. Would you like to share your experiences at Trust Legal, and also how did it contribute to your professional growth as well as your academic growth? And were there any specific environmental cases or matters that you would like to share? They will be very enlightening for our learners.
Yes, thank you,
Please.
Divya. So I started the profession with Trust Legal. I entered the legal profession with a lot of enthusiasm and energy and positivity, as a fresh graduate, that I want to do this, I want to do that. And I actually really value the foundation that the firm has provided me. I was very lucky to have found a mentor who really pushed me out of my comfort zone, and that actually lifted me up. But how did that happen? Since the beginning, I was so open to anything and everything that came my way. And by everything, I don't only mean practice, I mean every sort of thing. So, whether it was writing articles, co founding an organization, or creating a show, or organizing conferences, I was open to everything and I did everything. And when it came to practice, of course, I primarily practiced in environmental law and ESG because I was assisting Sir throughout. But I also did corporate agreements, vetting of MOUs and NDAs. I was doing a bail matter. I was doing a matrimonial dispute, which Supreme Court later referred to the mediation center. So I sort of got the experience of negotiation as well. I was doing small arbitrations. So mix and match of everything. It was not like I was restricted to one thing only. I tried to be open to everything that came my way. So that really helped me. And it was very challenging in the beginning as a first generation lawyer. It was very different from what I had imagined. And you know how they say that if you don't get a seat at the table, bring your folding chair along. So that is how I created my way. I created opportunities for myself, and I was given many opportunities, but I proved myself in it again and again. And as a result, I was given more responsibility. So I worked very hard throughout my 2 year period with Trust Legal. And one of the main highlights was this great environmental litigation, which was very high stake and was pending in the Supreme Court of India, was listed before the Chief Justice of India. And the Supreme Court had actually imposed a penalty of 2,500 crores on our client. And our main challenge was to advise them how to restore the environment and how to bioremediate it. So I was put as a junior most person in this team. So I think over a period of 3 months, there were 3 or 4 hearings, but the matter never reached. And at the end of 3 months, I was actually handling this litigation on my own. But how did this happen? So I was the only person in the team who had gone through all the files. So there was this huge room. It was a bulky matter, with hundreds and thousands of pages. So many reports were there and pleadings of NGT and then pleadings of Supreme Court. So I'd gone through everything. And of course, it took me time. It was not easy. And towards the end, I knew everything by page numbers, you know. I was the only person to do that. And also, there were site visits involved. So we were supposed to visit the site, and the location was very difficult to reach. So nobody in my team was very keen to do that, but I traveled at least 2 or 3 times to the site during my time. And I had environmentalists with me, photographers with me, social scientists with me. I visited the national park, the river, the villages, the community around. We met them, we took their interviews, we took photos, and I came back and I compiled all of this into a report, which we filed along with our pleadings in the Supreme Court. So this sort of, I think, helped us to bring the entire strategy of the litigation. And by this time, I was actually briefing the senior advocate directly, which was daunting and very frightening in the beginning because I just completed 1 year of my practice and I had to brief him directly. So I remember the day I had to brief Mr. Tripathi, I did not sleep the entire night because I was so nervous. And my parents did not understand what briefing is, but they did know that something is going on and she's nervous about it. So yes, but I was able to pull it off. And I made sure that, you know, before every briefing, I went through all my notes. And of course, it was not possible to go through all the files, but I made sure that I'm familiar with it. My mentor used to say that, you know, why do you have to study it again? You've just done it and it's just 15 days. How can you even? I said, no, it's not about forgetting. It's just staying in touch. And I made sure that I do that every night before or, you know, whenever there was a briefing. So yes, I worked most of my Sundays, I worked overnights, and it was not easy at all. But I think it gave me a fruitful result in the end.
So you are saying that your dedication paid off. You learned so much out of that. And that's a commendable thing that within such limited period of time, you learned so much and you were ready to actually pick up all the assignments which were given to you, which is another trait which you are telling us about, because it is so hard for anyone to just pick up everything. And you got your opportunities not only because you were there, it's because you wanted to pick them up. That's what I feel. I may be wrong, but I'm just
Definitely.
putting it in front of you. Reason being, that's what I am getting inspired from. I feel like, oh my god, she is picking up everything that's coming her way without thinking how she will do it. You traveled also. Everything takes sheer dedication, and you have shown that, and it has paid you off well. Keeping that in mind, during your practice time with Trust Legal, I guess you also co founded an international organization, which is called IUIC. Can you tell us how did that happen? And also about your journey, how did it help you in your journey at what you are so dedicated at achieving?
Yes, so this is actually my favorite part. So IUIC is actually India Uzbekistan Investment Corridor that I co-founded with Sir during my time at Trust Legal. And what happened was when I was hired, I actually worked online for the, I think, starting 2 months, I would say. And within 3 or 4 days, Sir just asked me to sort of prepare a presentation for the firm. We had Zoom calls at that time. And I had to prepare everything on Uzbekistan, the leading law firms, how the economy is performing. And I just worked very hard on it. And the firm was very impressed with my presentation at that point of time. So I think within a couple of days, Sir shared his idea. He had this idea of creating this organization and bringing together the countries because there were a lot of opportunities that were opening up, especially with India's vision, you know, because they were moving towards Central Asia more. They were focusing over there more. So yes, we decided and I definitely jumped on the opportunity again and we started planning it all out. So he said that maybe you should reach out to the embassies and we should onboard them. So I thought it's impossible, but I wrote so many emails to them. I called them and I was successful in onboarding the embassy of Uzbekistan in India as well as the embassy over there. So we had participation from the honorable ambassadors of both the countries for the inaugural conference. And ahead of the conference, I actually reached out to a couple of law firms. I showed them emails saying that let's get on a Zoom call and discuss what kind of opportunities we can together collaborate upon. And we had participation from, I think, 4 law firms in Uzbekistan in our conference. We had participation from chancellors and vice chancellors of big universities who wanted to open up in Uzbekistan. We had pharmaceutical company CEOs, managing directors, and media companies, and so many other people. And we successfully inaugurated the conference in June 2021. So it was a virtual conference, and we were successful in it. After that, what happened was I continued doing it. But to be honest, I did not receive much support for it because there were a lot of people saying, why are you wasting your time? You should focus on your legal practice. Even my colleagues, they said that out of concern, of course, but they also said that don't waste your time. This will not give you anything. And why do you want to focus on Uzbekistan? Focus on your legal practice, grow it. But I did not listen to anyone at all. And I believed in myself strongly. I knew I was doing something right. I actually learned the art of networking through it because I used LinkedIn to the best I can. And I reached out and I made connections with all the English law firms in Tashkent. So, Tashkent is the capital city of Uzbekistan. And within 6 months, I was actually invited by the Ministry of Uzbekistan to visit the country. There was this investment summit that was happening in March 2022, and me and Sir both were invited. I remember that Sir was on his trip to London and he was away for the 15 or 20 days before we had to travel to Uzbekistan. And I had no support from anybody. I was the only person working on this project. And I was reaching out to all the law firms. I was planning our days because we had only like 6 or 7 days in that country and I wanted to make the most out of it. So I had fixed appointments with all law firms from Dentons to all of the English speaking law firms over there. And on the day we landed, I actually planned this huge conference, which had a lot of managing partners from the law firms, the Indian diaspora, and the Honorable Ambassador of India at Uzbekistan. So this was the day we landed, and Sir was actually very surprised seeing how much participation we have and how many connections that we have built. And that expression on his face was priceless for me. I knew that I've done something right. Apart from this, the highlight was we attended the investment summit, and after this, I actually also made a very strong connection with the Tashkent State University of Law. So I negotiated an MOU. There were rounds of drafting and revising involved, and we were invited on the last day of our trip to the university, which we were very impressed by. So delivered a lecture on environmental law, and we signed an MOU between IUIC and TSUL for exchanging joint education opportunities for 5 years. So I think that was a very great achievement for me, especially. And I think I'm very proud of it till date. And this is how I stood out from the others. This is how I created my disruption, you can say. Because everybody was doing the routine work as a lawyer, and I was doing that as well. But this is what made me actually further develop my confidence, you can say, my networking skills. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity, actually.
Wow, you grabbed that opportunity and you did it in the right time. That's the art of how you make a name and impact for yourself. And you actually have shown that to the world also. The way you had successful conferences in a place which is not our motherland, it was a different place, and you did it without being there before landing, even. So it's absolutely amazing during all this, whatever was going on with the colleagues, with everything around, every challenge you have faced head on. But what about the person who is a first generation lawyer in her family? How did you come to decide all of a sudden to do LLM? Like, you had a booming practice, you were working flawlessly, you were achieving what you wanted to. Why did you decide to pursue LLM, and how did you choose LSE? What kind of experience helped you do that? Because we would like to understand what all steps did you take before even deciding this? How did you move to that? And how is it different from the experiences of learning in India as compared to London?
So I think that pretty much covers everything. So for me, deciding to pursue an LLM was not a very, thoughtful, conscious decision that I took. Actually, it happened the other way around for me. I applied for the Chevening scholarship out of nowhere, and I forgot about that. So this was back in November last year, actually November 2022, you can say, when the deadline for Chevening scholarship comes, and I forgot about that. So after 3 or 4 months, I think it was about this time only, I received an interview from them. So I was shocked about that because first I've forgotten about that. And secondly, I just applied thinking that maybe or maybe not it would happen. So, but I freaked out because at that time I had already missed the deadline of Cambridge and Oxford. And so I had 2 weeks and I just fixed my interview. I started preparing for it. And again, I reached out to so many people on LinkedIn who had previously gotten the scholarship. And here is where my Uzbekistan network actually helped me because one or two lawyers from Uzbekistan, whom I was in touch with, actually got the scholarship. and they took my mock interview a day before I interviewed for the scholarship. So this is how your network can help you always. So I reached out to a lot of people from Cambridge University, Oxford University, LSE even, who had gotten the scholarship, took tips from them, prepared very hard for it. I gave the interview, which was good, I think. And after that, I applied to LSE. So I saw that LSE has rolling admissions, but I still had a chance. So I applied to LSE and a few other colleges, but I was very sure that I want to go to LSE. I actually wanted to go to Oxford, to be honest, but I had missed the deadline, so it didn't work for me. So yes, I got the offer letter from LSE, and I was very happy. I was waiting for the scholarship, but unfortunately, I did not clear it. So I did not make it to the final list, and it was a very disheartening day. But that is some other story. But I had received a lot of support from my parents actually, and they said it's LSE. You're just 25. Why don't you go and try it? You'll get a lot of exposure, and you already are practicing so well here. You can always come back or do whatever you want to do, but I think you should go for this 1 year. So yes, I took the conscious decision, and of course Sudhi sir really encouraged me to do it, to step out of my comfort zone, because I was not ready. And in the beginning, when I came here, it was very daunting. I was away from my family for the very first time. So there was a lot of homesickness involved and a lot of tears, especially on Diwali. You know, I was like, I'm so away from my family. This is not how we celebrate Diwali. And there were so many questions going on in my mind. It was very difficult to settle down in the beginning, but it was very challenging and overwhelming at the same time, because suddenly I was surrounded with so many smart people around me, and I was just picking up learnings from all of them. And the teaching system is quite different from LSE. LSE is altogether a different ball game, you can say, because as compared to my previous universities, Delhi University especially, it was very relaxed, and I could rely on the past year papers, and you could just sail through. But over here, it's pretty much very different, because we don't have lectures over here, first of all, especially for my course in masters. We have a seminar system where ahead of the seminar we receive this list of readings that we have to definitely go through before attending the class, and it is more sort of an interactive session rather than being a one-way lecture. So that is something I did not witness in India before. And the system of pre-readings also we were not very used to, because in India we usually had like one or two textbooks prescribed to us and we had to go through that. So that was very challenging in the beginning. But coming to the strength of LSE, they have about, I think, more than 200 plus people in LLM. But what works in my favor, or what works for everyone, is that they have a cap size of 30 students in every course. So that solves the problem. I think 30 is a very good size, and it is very efficient to sit in a class and understand, and you also get that attention at the same time. So we have a wide range of courses ranging from whatever you can think of. And we had like options of 90 courses. And I had to pick 7 courses out of that. And the eighth course was my dissertation. So I think it was a mix and match of everything, and they have planned it very well. Of course, the teachers are extraordinary over here. There's so much to learn from them, most of them being practitioners and sharing their actually real life cases and tips. There are so many events over here. So the best event I think I attended was with the Chief Justice of United Kingdom, the Chief Justice of England and Wales actually, and she was the first woman to be elected as a Chief Justice here. And we were so humbled to have her, and to see her so down to earth and reaching out to us and being so inspiring at the same time was something I learned over here. So we had this whole session with them where she shared her entire journey and her learnings, which was very meaningful. And we have a lot of such events all the time. So you almost feel that you're not doing enough. But there is so much to do over here, with your readings, with your events. There are so many societies. You can't even think of the number. And there's this whole student community which comes together. There's LSE Law Review for you. I can actually tell you more about law, but I think it pretty much works for every course the same way. So there are law school events, there are student-led events, then there are socials, there is readings, there are seminars. So you almost feel you're being pulled in different directions. So LSE throws a lot on you, and you decide what to pick up and what will work for you. That is how it worked for me. And I met so many people from across the world, because the cohort is a mix of everything. We have people from China, people from America, people from all over Europe, and you just sort of exchange your experiences and learnings in the process. And I think it is very fruitful, and it has been very overwhelming, very challenging, but exciting at the same time.
in all what you said, my brain is stuck at that 90 course option. I'm like, how did you end up picking only 7 out of them? I can imagine how many must you have liked or I may like. The thing is sheer volume of options, and I really can't imagine how you pick and choose to be where you want to be. It's like being in the ocean and trying to understand, okay,
Trying
where
to
do I
swim.
want to
Yes.
go?
You have described it very aptly, I think.
It's absolutely overwhelming.
I spoke to so many people, I reached out to a couple of Indian students who had studied LLM before to decide on my course option. So I think that really helped me a lot. They actually suggested professors whom I should learn from or what they learn from them. So that actually enabled my choice for course selection to be specific. And I was very sure what courses I wanted to pick. I was very sure before coming here that these are the 7 courses I
You
want.
have that art of networking and getting information and choosing. See, that's what comes not only from dedication and things, but you do it very thoughtfully, you do it very mindfully, because if you're mindful of the situation, you'll find your path. That's absolutely true. And it's overwhelming to know how you have tackled everything. You have learned the art of networking, I guess, in the best manner possible. So like you said again and again, that you reached out to your network to know and learn more about LSE and more about what choices you should make. But we'll go a step back and would like to understand, how did you apply for LSE and what was the process that was involved in the whole way from here to there, because it will be very helpful to the learners who are interested or who will be interested in knowing how they can also go ahead and do the same.
For me, I think the admission process at LSE, I can actually focus more on the LLM course, but I think it's pretty much same for the other courses as well. So they focus a lot on academic excellence actually. They want a very high level of merit in your studies, especially. They focus a lot on your grades, but at the same time, equal weightage is given to your statement of purpose and your supporting documents. So there's a statement of purpose which is required. And I have currently 3 or 4 SOPs already in my inbox that I have to, get back to. So LSE, I think, receives, I would say, more than 3,000 plus applications every year. And as I said, the strength of LLM is more than 200 plus, but it's very competitive and it's very hard to get in, I would say. I would advise everyone to be very careful of what they send in their SOP. I would advise everyone not to keep it more than 2 pages. So we had this whole application form that we had to fill. And along with that was the SOP, the supporting documents, all my degrees and transcripts from my previous colleges. They want all your documents to be completed. And there are 2 referees that you have to recommend. So for me, I gave one academic referee from my previous law university, and one was my previous employer. That worked for me because I think people who are there who've practiced for more than a year or so, I would advise them to go and give the reference of their previous employer. But if it is less than 1 year, I would say that you should rely more on your academic references. So yes, coming back to the SOP, it can be 2 pages long, and your statement of purpose actually has to tell your story. So I just narrated my whole journey in my SOP, how I started, how I developed my interest in law, and how it led to a law practice. So the journey for everybody would be different, of course, and that is what will make you stand out. After addressing how I developed interest in law and how that led to me a practice, I was talking about all the unique things that I was doing during my time, whether it was any important matter or whether it was any important article that I wrote. But apart from that, people who are applying directly from their college maybe can talk about their societies or their publications during the law school. I think that will really help them. And then comes the question of why you felt the need to come to LSE and why did you choose LSE out of all the universities. Over here, a sub part of the question can also be why UK? Because a lot of premium institutions are there in US as well. So I think I addressed about 2 to 3 lines on why UK, why I was specifically interested in coming to UK, and why specifically in LSE, whether there was a specific course you wanted to do. So I remember name dropping actually the name of my professors that I wanted to study from, their previous researches, and a lot of courses that I wanted to study. That really helped me. So your why LSE should be really strong. And then you have to specify your motivations for applying to LSE in that and how it will help you in the future, in the long run. And towards the conclusion, maybe you can structure it in a manner saying that, this is what I want to be in life, or this is what I want to do after LSE, and this is how LSE will contribute to my journey, and it will help me achieve that. So I think that pretty much brings your entire story around, and that is how I structured it, and that is how I distributed it. And there's also one academic requirement, English requirement. So I wrote the IELTS exam, and the criteria for LLM was actually pretty high. They wanted an overall of 7.5 and 7 in reading, writing, and listening, and 6.5 in speaking. That was not very easy to achieve. And at the same time, it required a lot of practice as well. But there are other English entrance exams also that they consider, whether it's the Cambridge English score or the TOEFL exam. So whatever works for whoever. Apart from that, they require a CV, which I say would again be overall 2 pages, and it would list down all your important achievements, your awards, whatever you have received, your practice, your internships. I think you should highlight your work experience really good. And if you haven't, then you should highlight your college experience very well. So I think this was pretty much the entire process, and they charge a specific amount of fees for you to fill the application form. And they take about 8 weeks to respond to your offer. Also, one more important thing that I wanted to highlight was that the admissions at LSE are rolling, especially for LLM. So I would advise everybody to move in an early application as soon as possible. So I think this pretty much sums up the entire process and what is required to be done.
Amazing. A quick question, addition to the answer which you have given. During your SOP, when you were writing it, have you also mentioned about the kind of dedication that you have garnered after having your proper scheduled life? Will that help if someone wants to point such kind of thing? Because you were a dancer, you were a disciplined one, then your mom also kept you on a discipline, having a schedule, putting you under a proper benefit of gaining from that particular schedule. Was there any mention of that also in the SOP? Or if not, do you think if it was mentioned, would it have helped or added to it?
I think what they mainly look at is how dedicated you are, one, and second, how eagerly or how sure you are to apply to LSE, in specific as compared to other universities. They just want to know how sure you are about your decision. So I think that reflects. I specifically did not talk about my mom or anything because you just can't write everything, but I did mention the experiences that made me stand out. So that sort of already reflected my dedication. And I did mention what I want to do, what courses I want to take. So it shows clarity at the same time. And it's just the way how you articulate it and how you narrate your entire journey. So I think that will work for anyone in their SOP.
Awesome. So we almost have reached the last leg of our interview. And I won't say it is the last question, but I would love to ask if you would like to impart some advice and learnings for the fresh graduates who are about to enter the legal profession or have already become the first generation lawyers, are in their first year of work, because this will help them probably frame their whole journey, maybe follow in your footsteps and try and do what they wish to do.
I still feel that I have a lot to learn and, a long way to go. But I think what I can share from my experience, 3 or 4 tips is one, be open to everything and accept whatever comes your way. A lot of students I've seen, because I had a lot of interns, that they are very specific that we want to practice only in this area or we want to do only this. I'm not against that, but I would still advise everyone to be open in the beginning and enter the profession with a very open mindset. The second is, I think there will be a lot of people to discourage you. There will be a lot of people to bring you down. But at the same time, there will be a lot of people who will also support your journey. And try to build long lasting relationships with those positive people. Try to believe in yourself. And even with my clients, I'm still in touch with them. Even with a lot of my seniors, I'm still in touch with them, apart from Sudhir sir, of course. So I think that really helped me, and look for inspiration. So one part that I want to highlight in my entire journey is I've always looked for inspiration, whether it's from any interview of Shah Rukh Khan, say, or whether it's from any chief justice, or whether it's from any legal personality or anybody else. I've always looked for inspiration and tips, and I've tried to inculcate at least one thing from all of them in my life. I know it's a very long process and it sounds very difficult, but it's not that. And whenever I feel that I'm not motivated on a particular day, I just go and listen to some of these interviews and I feel inspired again. And the third tip would be to find a mentor that can really push you, or it can be your friend, your colleague, your senior, your mother, or anybody else in your life. Sometimes, because we really need a push to go out of a comfort zone and somebody to say that I believe in you and you can do it. So I think that pretty much sums up everything and what I want to say.
Wow, you have beautifully summed up everything that you have done till now. It's a beautiful conversation we had with you. Thank you for being here once again. And we hope the heights you reach, we get to be part of that journey as well. And hope to see you very soon in India in person as well. Thank you, Simran, for being with us here and inspiring our new generation lawyers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Divya. I'm very, very humbled. Thank you.